just turning in your, oh, okay, yeah, do that too. So, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to start a book talk. So, I'm going to show you mine to begin with, okay? And then I'm going to pass out the requirements and we're going to talk about them. Sound good? Any questions about that right now? Okay, so follow along with me, pretty please. I guess I should talk about hooks first. Yeah.
Whatever you want to talk
I'm
about.
going to start off with a hook. Why would I want to start off with a hook instead of just saying, like, this book by such and such? What do you think, Ray?
Because then the people might get bored and you want to be intrigued.
I like that word, intrigued. I would like all of you to be intrigued by this book. So I'm not yet started. I'm going to start. And my hook for today is going to be from my book. This is the only time I'm going to have anything to read from for my presentation. The rest of my presentation, I'm on my own. No notes, no nothing. Okay? Just have my slides to rely on. Cool? So, do you have to have a quote from the book as a hook? No. You have lots and lots of options. I'll share some others later, okay? But this is the hook I'm doing today. Cool? So, here we go. I was caught. I couldn't take a step, not without giving away my secret. But Ma'am stared at me with a glittering eye. Getting too big for your britches, ain't ya? She said. Get down on your knees and get into that cabinet. No, ma'am, I said, sinking to the floor. No, please. The cabinet was a cubby under the sink. The pipe dripped sometimes, so the cabinet was always damp and smelly. Worse, roaches lived there. I didn't mind roaches out in the open so much. I could smash them with a piece of paper and throw their bodies out the window. In the cabinet, in the dark, I couldn't smash them. They swarmed all over me. Once, one crawled into my ear. In you go, ma'am said, smiling. I'll go, Jamie said. I nicked the chop. Ada goes, ma'am said. She turned her slow smile toward Jamie. Ada spends the night in the cabinet any time I catch you stealing again. Not the whole night, I whispered. But of course, it was. This is the life that Ada is living when we meet her. At the beginning of the book I chose, The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. She's 10 years old. She lives in an apartment. Her apartment is in London in the late 1930s, so right as England is joining the Second World War. And she has never left that apartment in her life. Her mom won't let her. She can't even walk down the hall to go to the bathroom that all the apartments on her floor share. She has to go to the bathroom in a bucket in the apartment. And so she lives in the city with Big Ben and everything, right? But all she can see is what's outside her window. And that's because Ada was born with a club foot. It means her foot was all twisted when she was born, and it wasn't corrected. And because of this, her mom is ashamed of her, and she won't let her leave the apartment. And Ada thinks maybe, just maybe, if Ada can learn to walk, even though walking is really, really, really painful for Ada on that twisted foot, that maybe her mom will let her leave. Maybe her mom will let her go to school. Maybe her mom will let her go play outside with her little brother, Jamie, like he gets to every day after he goes to school. Now, meanwhile, it is the beginning of the Second World War, right? And as all of you know from reading some other books I know you've read, people are sending their children out of London, right, to protect them from the bombs they think are going to come to London soon. And so Jamie comes home from school and he says, Mom, the teacher said that I need to get you to take me to school so that I can get on the train with all the other kids and go out to the countryside where I'll be safe. And Ada's going to go with me. And his mom says, now, Jamie, you can go to the country, but Ada's going to stay right here. This is where Ada belongs. It's all right if Ada gets bombed. And that inspires a plan for Ada. Ada tells Jamie, you go to school and you ask that teacher where we're supposed to be and what time, and we're going to go. And that's what they do. Early in the morning, they get up really early, and Ada steals her mom's shoes. And they creep out of the apartment and down the stairs and go to the school. And they line up with all the other kids and they walk to the train station and they get on the train. And just like that, Ada has escaped her life in London with her horrible mother, huh? And as they're going, she keeps learning all these new things. Because remember, all she could ever see was that one little area right outside her window, right? And so Ada sees a church and a churchyard for the first time. She sees grass for the first time. She asks her brother, what's all that beautiful green? And he says, well, it's grass, and it's spiky, but it's soft, and I'll just have to show you, right? And she uses a toilet for the first time. She has to have Jamie tell her how to use it. She doesn't even know that there are separate girls' and boys' bathrooms. So as she's learning all these wonderful, exciting things, the train pulls into the station, the city and the country, and the teachers get all the kids off the train and they line them up on the wall. And all the people from the town come in. And they say, well, you can come home with me. I'll take care of you. Oh, and you two sisters, we'll take you home. You can live with us, right? And you can come to my house. I'll take care of you. And the kids keep leaving, all these kids in their very best clothes with their little name tags on that their parents pinned on their jackets. And their little bundles of things, right? But Ada and Jamie don't have anything. Nobody pinned a name on their jacket. They didn't bring anything with them. They're kind of dirty. And once someone tries to come and take Jamie home, but Ada tells him that he bites so that they can stay together. So Ada realizes that it doesn't look like anybody's going to take them home. Slowly all the other kids leave, and they're the last two left. And the very serious woman with the clipboard who is running things at the train station and helping people get kids taken home decides she's just going to pile them in her car because she knows right where to take them. And this is a treat for Jamie and Ada. They've never been in a car before, right? So they climb in the car, they're all excited, and they're driven out to this cute little cottage in the country, right? And they can hear the serious lady with the clipboard speaking to Mrs. Smith, the woman who lives in the house. And Mrs. Smith is saying things like, well, I don't want children. I don't know what to do with children. I don't have any children. And they're kind of worried, Ada and Jamie, that this lady doesn't want them, and nobody at the train station wanted them or anything. And then Ada sees the horse in the yard of the house. Now, Ada saw somebody riding a horse earlier on the train, and it looked like the most exciting thing she had ever seen in her life. And she decides right then and there that she's going to live in this house, and she is going to get to know that horse, and she's going to learn how to ride it. That's what she's decided. And so, she gets out of the car, and she takes Jamie with her, and they go to the front door, and she says, now, you don't have to take care of Jamie, I take care of Jamie, and I'm real good at taking care of myself too. And the lady with the clipboard leaves, and there they are with Mrs. Smith in the country. And what happens next? Well, I guess you'll have to read the book, won't you? And find out. What do you think's gonna happen? Are there gonna be bombs? Is their mama gonna miss them now? Is she gonna want Ada back after all those years of being mean to her? Are they gonna survive the very stern Mrs. Smith who didn't want children? You'll have to go read it. I give The Word That Saved My Life by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley 5 stars. I didn't know I was gonna love this book. I thought it might be kind of cute. I read the whole thing in one day, guys. It's so good. So I highly recommend it. The end. Okay? 4. Okay? I told you, you can use a quote like I did, right? But you don't have to. There are lots of different ways to do hooks. And here are 4 other examples, okay? This is from The Memory Keeper's Daughter. One snowy night, a baby is born, and its mother does not know her husband has given the baby away. She thinks that her baby has died. In The Memory Keeper's Daughter by Ken Edwards, there's a hole in the family ever since the eventful night when a mother goes into labor. That's pretty dramatic, isn't it? You want to know what happens next now, don't you? I know I do. I haven't read this book yet, and I'm kind of curious. All right, this one's from Marvin and Teague.
Which I read in 7th grade.
You did?
And I'm 51 3/4 years old. So
There you
it's
go.
an old book. It's good though.
Marvin and Teague. Teague reached down into his pocket and pulled out a switchblade. He sprung it open, stared loosely into its shiny reflection, and inched up the sleeve on his left arm to expose his wrist. I bet that's gonna smart some, came the non-angelic voice of a man somewhere in the mid-darkness. It wasn't enough to startle Teague, for he didn't even hear it at first, but it was enough to distract him. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's gonna hurt. You know, if you're gonna commit suicide, that's one of the most painful ways. Francina Glass took me on a real-life adventure of living on the streets, homeless and lonely, in the novel Marvin and Teague. That was a pretty dramatic opening, wasn't it? This is one from a book called Christy, and this is going to start with the word imagine. A lot of people like to start theirs this way. Totally fine with you starting with imagine, totally fine with you starting with a quote, but let's mix it up. Let's not all do the same thing, right? That would not be interesting for us, would it? So this is Christy. Imagine growing up in a wealthy household where your parents provide everything you could possibly want or need, where you have received the best education, where you wear the finest clothes and own the most fashionable trends. Now imagine making the decision to become a missionary teacher who leaves this comfortable home to go live in the rustic mountains with hillbilly people who have little or no income, who live in dirt floor cabins situated on the steep slopes of the Appalachian Mountains, who bathe perhaps twice a year, and who are so stuck in their ways that they immediately reject this outsider's existence as she tries to live in their community. Catherine Marshall weaves the tale of this young lady teacher in the novel, Christy. So you see how we use that hook to kind of build up before we tell you what book we're talking about? That's what we want you to do, okay? One more, ready? Just one more, you can handle it, right?
And this one's my favorite.
Oh, and this is Mrs. Rain's
This
favorite.
book, oh my goodness.
So good?
Yeah, go.
So good. And this one I think you'll remember too. Like
Could I do this one?
Sure.
Because let me tell
I'll
you
trade
what,
you.
I do movements with.
Go.
Farley Mowat, and that really is his name. Farley Mowat had a peeing contest with the wild wolves he was sent to study in the Arctic tundra of Canada. He literally went around a perimeter and marked his territory, having to refuel with a few swigs of whiskey, both to keep him warm and to provide the necessary fluid intake to create a better urine stream. Are y'all with me? Okay. After he successfully peed a circumference around his lodging, he sat back to see what these wild wolves would do. He could see them watching, then slowly stalking towards him, but they stopped at the marked line, sniffed, and then proceeded to mark their own territory on the outside of his circumference, and they left and never entered his area again. Amazingly, there was no attack, but rather in gentlemanly fashion, they seemed to agree with this man who had come into their territory to share the woods. In this nonfiction story by Farley Mowat, it tells you about his adventure in living with the wolves in the story called Never Cry, in the book Never Cry Wolf. And it's really amazing. It's hilarious. I know he drinks a little whiskey, but you would too if you were living in 0-degree temperature just to stay warm. And he was a mess. And you think this is going to be about how wolves are awful, but it's not. It's good.
You did a whole book talk there, Mrs. Rains. I love it.
Sorry.
Choose an AR fiction or nonfiction 5-point minimum book.
I.e., I need you to pick a book you could read for AR. Okay? If you're stuck on what to pick, you can always open your AR and look at that bookshelf, remember? Okay? Reader 2.
Love the book you choose to present.
Did I love this book?
Yeah.
Would I have been nearly as good at presenting it if I didn't love it? No. Be like me. Choose a book you love. Reader 3.
Create a Prezi with 8 slides to help you present your book talk.
Take your handy dandy pen or pencil, please. Cross out Prezi.
Yay!
Cross it out. We are going to use either Google Slides or Keynote. You can drop a Keynote right into Google Slides too. Okay? So Google Slides is a free app. You can download it tonight. It's not a big deal. I put it on the portal too. Okay? Google Slides, or if you are a Keynote person, use Keynote. That's fine. Okay? Cool beans? How many slides do you have to have?
8.
I used 11. Is it okay if you use a couple extras?
Yes.
Yes, but you must have at least 8. Fair enough? All right, yes, sir.
Is that not including the cover slide, the ending slide?
No, that was all the slides you saw. Everyone, 11 total.
Okay.
Good question, sir. All right, we're on reader 4.
Have a plan so you don't ramble.
That is very important. Very, very, very important. We are going to make that plan today. I'm going to show you my plan and Mrs. Rain's plan. You're going to see how messy mine is. Is it okay if your plan is messy?
Yes.
What do we know about writing?
It's
It's a messy experience. You're going to see arrows and crossouts and all kinds of things, and that is A-okay. Yes, sir.
Why don't we have like note cards when we're sending up
Nope.
there? No?
You will not have any note cards. Did I have any note cards?
No.
Nope, you won't either.
But you
Okay.
can hold the book if you're reading the passage.
Yes.
Right.
So if you choose to start with a quote like I did, you may use the book for that part. You see I have a little bookmark here, so I know right where
Yeah.
to go. But otherwise, you're depending solely on what's on your slides.
Okay.
Okay, good question, Zachary. All right, reader 5.
Hook your listeners with a unique introduction.
I feel like we covered that pretty thoroughly. Do you agree? Good. Reader 6.
Say the name of your author and title of the book at least twice near the beginning and near the end.
Very important. Okay. You give your hook, and then you tell us the title and author. You get to the end, you tell us the title and author. Cool. This is meant to be like a checklist for you. Did I do all these things, right? So when you finish, you should check and make sure you did. What reader are we on? 7.
Do not give away the end of the book.
Carter, what's my favorite thing to say? Don't be that guy, right? Don't be that guy. Don't ruin it for everybody by telling us what happens, okay? Reader 8.
Rate your book on a 5-star scale.
Yes, out of 5, how many stars would you give it? Hopefully at least 3, since it's supposed to be a
million.
book you love.
Can you say 6?
That's a different project, but
For
it's similar,
emphasis.
yes.
If it's really good.
All right, reader 9.
Look at the class at least 2/3 of the time.
I appreciate how you emphasize at least.
Oh.
Okay, that's part of the rubric, moaners and whiners. You have to look up and make eye contact and project your voice and use emotion. Okay.
Class 2/3.
Well, there you go. All right, reader 10. Who's my 10?
The presentation may not be shorter than 90 seconds nor longer than 3 minutes.
That's a pretty good window, right? You have a minute and a half of leeway one way or the other, okay? That's your window, aim for that. Do you think you might have to practice this then?
Yeah.
It's a good idea to practice it, okay? And reader 11.
Be ready to present on Tuesday, February 21st.
Very helpful, sir. Good job. So that's when you'll have to have the presentation ready. What will you bring to class tomorrow? The plan, which is what I'm about to give you. Ready? Now look, we've got 2 boxes here, right? Thank you, sir. You're the bestest. All right. This left-hand box is going to tell you what is on the slide. Okay? What picture, what words. The right-hand box is your script. Now, do you think that I recommend or do not recommend memorizing the script? I do not recommend memorizing the script.
That's a
What?
shocker.
Sometimes happens when we get nervous, Mitchell.
We read it like a robot.
We don't have it to read, right? What else?
We'll speed it up.
We speed things up. What else?
You'll forget.
You forget things. You forget things. And if all you have is like what you memorized, and you can't think of the next word, are you going to be able to do very well? No. However, if you've been practicing it, using your slides as your guide to help you remember what to say next, will that do better? Yes. If you haven't been trying to say like the exact same words every single time, it will work better. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
We have to like look back at the slides like.
That's why 2/3 of the time you have to look at the audience.
Oh,
So that you can look back, right? I even pointed at slides some, didn't I? I also grabbed children. I don't recommend that. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Would you be allowed to like read your script?
Only if it is in the book. Good question. Did you guys hear that? So if you want to read your hook, you can use, if it's a quote, yes, right? Because you have to do the quote properly, don't you? That's super important. But if it's a hook you made up, you'll be fine. I trust that you can get it. Sir.
I'm not saying this a lot. Could your book be on your iPad, but or it has to be hard copy? I'm just
Oh,
curious.
I don't care.
Okay, I was curious.
Yeah, ebook, regular book, don't care. No big deal. All right, I'm gonna show you. What do you notice about my version?
It's messy.
It's real messy, right? Do you see how I've like drawn arrows? If you look, I forgot to put my title and author slide in second, so I had to add it in, right? You can see that I have crossed things out. I couldn't decide how I wanted to phrase that. I kept playing with it and playing with it, right? I wrote this as part of this slide and then decided it went down here, okay? And then you can see I have, on the next page, I kind of decided that this slide was going to have more to say than I thought it was. So I had to run over into the next slide. And then I kept changing what I wanted to have on this screen. So should this be messy?
Yes.
Writing is a messy experience. It's okay for it to be messy, okay? So change things up as you realize you want them to be different. Yes, sir?
Could it be a
Oh,
oh,
pardon.
no, it's fine.
Is this what your plan did tomorrow? Yes.
The plan is due tomorrow. Just the plan.
What's that? This thing?
This thing. Just this. Not the presentation. Just the plan. Yes, ma'am.
Could it be a book that we've already read this year?
It should be a book you've read. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to do. Landon.
Can you talk about like something that happens in the book without spoiling like the main part of it?
Yep.
Yes, yes. You could even choose your hook. Okay, here, I can show you. So I read, the part of the book I told you about is to about,
Page 12. Oh, you mean when you
what I
stop.
told them about.
Yeah.
Yep, it's about to here. So I told you about this much of the book, and I left this much out. Do you still want to read it?
Yeah.
Is that what matters?
Yeah.
Okay? So be aware of that. You really don't want to give away too much. Yes.
So this whole thing is due.
Yes. But how many slides do you have to have? 8. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Is the author slide like okay? Shows the first slide with like just
The hook.
Yeah, the hook.
Start with your hook, and then what comes next?
And then do you have to have like
The author and title, right? That was one of the requirements.
yeah.
And then from there, you take it in the direction you think it should go. Yes.
I read this book last year, but I read it like.
So you have to sign up for a book with me, but let's keep going because if we can get started on choosing books, we can get a lot more work done. You'll have a lot less homework. This wasn't meant to be a whole bunch of homework, right? Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is your hook a slide that's like? How would you have your hook?
My hook was a cockroach. Did you see it?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mine was the word alone,
Oh, that's right. It was. It was.
and actually the cover. But that word alone helped me
Remember what to say?
say what to say. Yeah, because it was about a little boy who was left alone.
So your hook isn't your cover, or isn't your cover page.
Yeah, you don't make a cover page per se. Start off with your hook. Does that make sense? That was a nice question.
Your slides are basically there to help you remember what to say.
Precisely. And now we're gonna sign up for books.
There you go.